This is Buy, Hold, Sell, brought to you by Tab. We made it. It's round 24, the final home and away round for 2026, and the final round for SuperCoach AFL Classic. I'm Paton. Did think about changing the name of this show to Sell, given all the issues that are going on in SuperCoach this week, but then I realised it would probably actually just be hold, because there's not much we can do about it, but we will fight our way through. We'll have some tips here. If you do have a trade, there are a few floating around, and a bit of talk about captains, because that will be a big one for everybody, especially if you're in a SuperCoach Grand Final this weekend. Al Paton here with me. Is Chloe Williams. Now, you've got plenty riding on this weekend without giving too much away. I think just outside the top 100 in the overall rankings, and I think there might be a bit of movement this weekend given all the issues that we're dealing with, but how are you feeling, and how are you going to use your unlimited trades? Oh, hang on, no, that's SuperCoach Finals. We'll get to that soon. What are you doing this weekend?
Well, I can't do much this weekend, unfortunately, but yeah, just outside the top 100. Used my final trade last week on Isaac Rankin, actually, at the last minute after Sam Durham and Bont were ruled out. So just tried to get a bit of extra coverage there. Plenty of carnage going on this week, so slightly impacted by that, but I can somewhat field a team as it stands. So it will be definitely very interesting to see how everything shifts depending on how much coverage people have. But yeah, far from ideal for Grand Final week.
Yeah, we'll go through some of those names too that we'll be missing this weekend that we already know about, and then of course we're still waiting for teams, and there's a few up in the air as well. But we'll start with some news, some tips for people who do have trades. And my buy of the week for SuperCoach Grand Final week is Max Hall from the Saints. Love Max as a player. He's always been a really handy SuperCoach pick, and the last few weeks he's turned into a really good SuperCoach pick, an out-and-out premium. I'm not sure why I left him out of my captains when we were on this show last week, but I did advise my better half that he could be a good one to put the VC on against the Tigers, and absolutely exploded with 181 points. He's a forward mid, so you can get him as a forward with all these forwards. I think I've got two forwards playing this weekend, so if I had a trade, I'd love to bring in Max Hall against Gold Coast on Thursday night. So Gold Coast actually giving up the most points to opposition midfield players over the last 6 rounds, even more than Richmond. So he could be in for another massive one.
Yeah, and good CBAs as well, especially since Naz went down.
Yeah, exactly. So that's probably maybe helped him with that little boost in scoring, but can definitely hit the scoreboard as well. But, a lot of impact with his disposals when he had 40 last weekend. But, yeah, he really makes them count. Another little sneaky Saint that, if we just had trades to play with, Jack McRae did score about 140 last weekend.
Winding
back
it back
in. Exactly. And, again, that midfield matchup against Gold Coast, I'm not sure where he'll be next year, but he could go out with a bang.
Definitely would be good to bring in an old favourite. My buy of the week, once again this week though, is Isaac Rankin, who I did bring in last week. He just scores lots of points, and my favourite 5-round average, he's sitting on 151, which is insane. He is pretty expensive though, up 74k from last week.
He's the most expensive player in SuperCoach, and he's 50 grand more expensive than number 2, who's Nick Dacos. So that's crazy.
It is crazy.
And especially considering he was like 400 grand about 5 weeks ago.
Yeah, but he does cover 2 lines as well. So especially at the moment with so many different injuries and restings, I think that Isaac Rankin can plug a couple holes for you, as well as, just scoring lots of points.
And yeah, that's right. So I think you might have brought him in the midfield last week, but if you've got someone, Joel Fitzgerald or someone on your midfield bench, you can swing Rankin forward and at least give you some extra cover that way. And he scored over 150 last week against Fremantle, which is
a difficult matchup for difficult. Both mids and forwards. So.
But this week, GWS, so should have it a bit easier. They haven't been doing a whole lot of tagging, not sure where the Giants are at right now. The other matchup I'd be looking at very closely this weekend is the Richmond-Geelong game on Saturday night. As we mentioned with a couple of those Saints boys last week, Richmond just didn't turn up at all, even despite having a few things to play for. This week down at the Cattery with those guys in retirement, not even available. Sam Lawler's also been saying he's not going to play. So, the Cats, I think, too, we'll sort of be watching the ladder, but I think they do still need to win. They'll probably be keeping a close eye on what's happening in the Adelaide game at the same time. So the only worry would be if maybe later in the game they know that it's all wrapped up and they can afford to sit some guys down for a bit. But yeah, Bailey Smith, you'd think, this is basically the reason I got him 3 or 4 weeks ago for a game like this. So, and he's not that expensive, certainly compared to a Rankin at 537k. I think you could definitely bring him in. And a left field one, I was looking at Sean Manor. And the Phantom did mention him on the Lair pod. But the other one who I did see some news this week that they expect to play for the first time in about 6 weeks is Jeremy Cameron. Now,
you couldn't, could you?
Well, there is a tradition in SuperCoach of bringing in a key forward for the final round to kick a bag and win a grand final. I know Buddy Franklin put up some big games back in the day. And Jezza knows how to do this last year. He played Richmond in the final round, kicked 4, scored 129 points. The year before that, Geelong played West Coast in round 24.
I do remember that game.
Jezza kicked 9 and scored 159 SuperCoach points. So, I suppose they may be managing him a little bit, but you'd think they'd want to get him up for finals. So, give him a really good run, feed him plenty of the ball. It could be a massacre down there and he's only 250k or something like that. So just, if you just needed a wild move to maybe try and come from behind to win a SuperCoach Grand Final, I'd be picking Jezza this week.
Yeah, especially if you're trading out a Petrarca or someone who is pretty much has zero value. I think that it would be a pretty good stab in the dark. I'd be more worried about the initial arm issue though than the AC joint for Jezza in terms of his performance. But you know what? He's done it before. Why can't he do it again?
Yeah, no, I love it. Who are we holding this week, Chloe?
Well, unfortunately, there are plenty of holds for this grand final week. First of all, we've got Harry Sheasel, the most owned player in SuperCoach. Christian Petrarca has now been ruled out, even though he's basically been ruled out for the past couple of weeks. Anyway, Jason Horn-Francis ruled out with a broken toe. Sam Durham with groin soreness. Murphy Reid also with groin soreness, and then plenty of people under a bit of a cloud, including Marcus Bontempelli, who could once again be rested if Bevo has it his way, and even a Nick Dacos type. You just never really know what the plan is, so definitely keep your eyes on teams tonight. But yeah, it's just hold City over here at the moment, isn't it?
Well, yeah, we don't have a whole lot of choice, and then obviously we've got all the drama at Sydney this week, which has just been a crazy story, and yeah, plenty of players involved who are also very highly owned in SuperCoach. So you'll see those suspension red dots next to Isaac Heaney, Chad Warner, Nick Blakey, and then Jordan and Riley Bice as well. So there's even more players out that we have to deal with. Other podcasts can talk more about what's going on there, but yeah, not good as well in SuperCoach. But my other hold for the week would just be to hold, if you do have a trade, hold it for as long as you can, and especially given that Sydney North Melbourne game is on the Sunday. So the guys you'd probably be, if you've only got one trade and you've got plenty of holes to cover, a Sheasel or one of those Swans are worth quite a lot of money. So they'd probably be the ones you'd be hanging on to, trading out anyway. And it just gives you a chance to watch the lay of the land, maybe, use a loophole or a VC or something and see what your opponent does, tracking them for the weekend as well, and see how you're placed, maybe coming into the Sunday. And there are still some good options you could trade in from those last 2 or 3 games. So yeah, that's just a bit of a final tactic that might help in a grand final.
I like it. The other thing that I'll be holding on for, though, is for SuperCoach Finals. So I know that the end of the year hasn't been ideal for everyone, but SuperCoach Finals brings an amazing prize, a Toyota Hilux, as the main prize this year. Plus, it also brings unlimited trades. So if you're feeling a bit down in the dumps, got no trades left, you don't have to hold on for very long, just one more week, and you can make your own brand new team full of players locked into the wildcard round.
Unlimited trades.
I know, unlimited trades, bring it on.
Yep, no, absolutely. And the other hold, I think, we'll be holding on late on Sunday night because there's a late Sunday start.
There is, yes.
West Coast game. So the lockout will be quite late, but yes, we'll be hitting refresh to find out, especially who. I am in a couple of grand finals, but more watching the overall rankings given it's so close, and of course the outcome of the SuperCoach Cup as well. So yeah, it'll be a tense Sunday night coming up. What about sells? I mean, I had Christian Petrarca down here even before we knew about his injury. We've had him as a sell for a few weeks, and we're done with Christian Petrarca. It would be very interesting to see what his price is coming into next year and what the
not cheap enough. Not cheap enough.
I mean, if it's anything like his price now, he's going to be like a mid-price. It's absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
Any other sells? I mean, if you've got a trade, I guess you're selling all the guys you listed before.
Yeah, well, I'm wondering if I could sell my boosts because I still have 2, so wondering if I could cash them in anywhere. But no, in all seriousness, I think just sell anyone who is not playing if you have a trade left, but prioritise, like what Al said, based on timing, but also on price and position. So wherever you have the most bench cover, maybe prioritise a different line when you're looking to sell people. And then also price-wise, just sell whoever is the most expensive so you can get the best value for money, unless, of course, you're targeting someone like Jezza, who's a bit cheaper.
And my other sell for the last show of the year is just selling the 2026 injury carnage that we've had to deal with. It's just been insane. I mean, obviously, even more this weekend, kind of fitting, I guess, for the year that we've had, that it's all come in an avalanche again at the end, and with the most popular player, Harry Sheasel, out injured. So, all the injuries that we've had to cop, forced trades, it's been really hard. It'll be very interesting next year discussion when we come around to SuperCoach 2027. Strategy-wise, do we try and play it a bit more conservatively earlier in the year? But, it's just maybe we did go a bit too gung-ho early, but it's just been a horrible year.
Yeah, you couldn't really script this end, exactly. I don't think.
Shocking. So you did mention SuperCoach Finals, though. Something we can get very excited about starting next week. So the brand new competition starts with the wildcard round. So that's one thing to point out, that you can pick players, obviously, from all the teams in the finals, but your scores for wildcard week will be only players from those participating teams. So, if you not much point picking some, Fremantle players in week one. But, we'll be talking plenty more about who we like. But it's, as you've mentioned already, no salary cap, unlimited trades, triple points for captains, VC for gets double points. So it's a 9-player team and the best 8 players count. 3 maximum from each team until we get through to grand final week. Who do we like from week one? An early tip. We'll have more about this, obviously, next week. But we think Collingwood, the Bulldogs and Carlton are already locked in for the wild card, and we think probably Adelaide will be the other team. So any early tips?
I was having a bit of a look earlier. I think if I had to just pick 3 off straight off the bat, I would probably pick Nick Dacos, Sam Walsh and Marcus Bontempelli.
Yeah, I mean, Bond will be an interesting one. If he does rest this weekend, it'll be another disaster for my classic team. But, he should be cherry ripe, as Bevo
you would
said,
think so,
for the first week of the finals. I mean, the midfield, the thing that's struck me when I'm starting to pick a team is that the midfield is going to be absolutely stacked.
Yeah.
Picking other positions is going to be hard. I mean, even in the ruck from those wildcard teams, maybe Darcy Cameron, especially if they come up against the Bulldogs with no Tim English.
Yeah.
And then looking at the forward line, man, that is really thin. DeGoey potentially, or Riley Thilthorpe, someone who could have a big game. But, those positions could decide who has a good score.
Someone who I was eyeing off in the forward line, Harry Mackay, but then Al received some great data from Champion Data, which we will share soon enough. But Harry Mackay is minus 21.3 points-wise in terms of the home and away season as opposed to his finals performances. So stuff like that will be very interesting to assess. Jordan Dawson, another one, minus 28.5 with his home and away as opposed to his final scoring. But Jordan DeGoey, we know, a proven finals performer, plus 14.3 in finals. So obviously that's just from the finals that these guys have played, but data like that will definitely come in handy towards the finals, so stay tuned for that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll talk more about that next week. Now, captains is going to be huge for grand finals, especially out there, and trying to juggle all these missing players, etc. But if you can get a massive score from your captain, it will be a huge bonus. And this week we don't have too many tags or anything. I don't think we have to worry about Oisin Mullen playing Richmond. I don't know. Who do you even tag in that game? Or you just let him run free. He could just get 30 touches himself. One thing I did pick up late is that Tuke Miller was running with Lachie Neale last week and restricted him to only 50-odd points. So that's one to maybe keep an eye out for in the St Kilda game on Thursday night. But going into my top 5 captains for the week, I've got at number 5, Will Ashcroft. So again, picking a game where these teams, you think both will be playing, maybe not Collingwood, but certainly Brisbane want to win to shore up their position in the top 4. Will, we know, has been flying in the back half of the season, and he scored 139 against Collingwood back in round 4, and he wasn't actually going that well in the first half of the year. So he has some good form against the Magpies. Then we look to that St Kilda Gold Coast game on Thursday night. Not sure how many people are going to be at Marvel Stadium.
Not many.
Maybe a few if they pick one of these guys as captain. But I've got Max Hall, if anyone has him, pretty low ownership. But really like him again. And then Brad Hill's the other one. Tip of the cap for Brad Hill. I looked him up. He made his debut in 2012.
Wow.
Playing his 300th game on Thursday night. And this is his career best year in SuperCoach. So, he's had a fantastic year. Obviously, Jack Sinclair and Naz going down has sort of given him a bit of freedom running around in the back line. But, he's been fantastic, both in really good form. The Suns are not going too well either. So, I think Hall would be my pick of the two. But, I think Brad Hall could definitely be a good one as well. Number 3, now, Bailey Smith, we did talk about him, should get 1,000 possessions against Richmond. The only worry is if they know by the last quarter where they're sitting in terms of the finals, and maybe, he sits on the bench for half the last quarter. But the way SuperCoach scoring works, the points, the value in the points is all going to be, when the game is won, which you think would be early on. So if he's on, he could be on 150 by 3/4 time anyway. So, he's definitely
he pretty much was against Essendon. So
exactly. So only scored 160 something against West Coast. Against Essendon a couple of weeks ago, and he averages, I think, 130 in 9 games at GMHBA Stadium this year. Now, number 2, Isaac Rankin, talking about teams that need to win, sort of putting the focus on them, and just we all know how well Isaac is going and has a pretty good matchup this weekend after scoring 157 against Fremantle. So should be on for another one. But the most obvious captain of the week, just ticks all the boxes, is Max Gawn playing against the Western Bulldogs. Melbourne has to win. I mean, if they lose and results go against them, they could find themselves in a wildcard elimination final the next week. So they really have to win. Stephen King was on Fox Footy this week saying, we're not planning any tricks with managing our guys. And Max comes up against the Bulldogs, who are already a good matchup for rucks, and Tim English isn't playing. So he's probably going to be rucking mostly against Rory Lobb, maybe a little bit of Lewis Emmett. And Max has scored more SuperCoach points than anyone else this year.
Again.
Yeah, just incredible. So you really can't go wrong. It's just, I guess, a question of whether you put the C or the VC on him at 4:15 on Saturday afternoon.
It'll be a very interesting week, I think, especially with seems to be quite a few strong options here. All of these guys could probably give you a massive score. So I think it'll be slim margins this week, but Max Gawn, definitely the pick of the bunch. I think another one that's pretty interesting, if he's not rested, is Nick Dacos against Brisbane. So his 110 last week was his lowest score since round 10.
Yeah,
but if you're looking for a surefire captain, I think anything over 110, especially the way some things have panned out this year, you would definitely take. Brisbane are the 6th hardest mid matchup, but he did score 176 against Brisbane at the MCG last year. So I definitely think that if he does play, he'll be playing at 100%. So
yeah, I was thinking that too. That he's the sort of guy that, maybe he gets a little bit more forward time or something like that to manage him, but he's not the sort of player who will just take it easy. You think he probably doesn't need any more Brownlow votes, but
no, but you never know what could come in handy. And I think if he's named on the team sheet, he's not someone who I think you have to worry about getting too managed. Just with the way that we've seen Collingwood play him this year, they haven't necessarily managed him like potentially a Geelong might do with a Bailey Smith.
Yeah, no, I like that as well for maybe a VC. And then the other one that jumped out at me was Ed Richards, who was amazing last week. He was
great.
And has a really good record against Melbourne, actually. He scored 140 and 148 in his past two against the D's. So maybe depends if Bond plays. The Bulldogs sort of can't really move too much, but maybe a little bit of management question mark there. But yeah, I think he should have another really good one. And what about if you still had Zach Butters?
Yeah, that would have been good, wouldn't it?
A few people still do. I think he's in about 40,000 teams, so he has a chance to play this weekend. Playing the Bombers, I don't know what's going to happen in that game.
Who knows?
Both teams with plenty of players out and not a whole lot to play for, so a bit hard to predict. But yeah, you think Zach, if it is a farewell game for Port, which we think it probably is, he could go out
200?
with a big one. Well, yeah, exactly. I wouldn't put it past him. Welcome to Coach's Edge, brought to you by Tab. This week, focusing on the Melbourne versus Western Bulldogs game, a 4-leg multi here, and I'm really backing in the D's because I think they have to win. They've got probably more to play for than nearly anyone else on the ladder this weekend. We know Max Gawn loves playing against the Bulldogs, and with no Tim English, he should have another really big game. 20-plus disposals for Max. I think we can lock that in. Joel Fitzgerald has been a really handy SuperCoach pick, and I think he'll be on the field for most teams this weekend, the way things are going. So 20-plus disposals for him as well. And then Jake Bowie, who has been a really handy pickup in the back half of the year, one of the leading defenders, one of the only ones who hasn't been injured, and he gets a great matchup here. The Bulldogs are giving up more points in SuperCoach to opposition defenders than any other team, that sort of halfback type. So I expect Jake Bowie to get plenty of the footy this weekend. 25-plus disposals for him, and the D's to win gives us $4.20 for the round 24 multi, and you can find that on the Tab app. Imagine what you could be buying instead. For free and confidential support, call 1-800-858-858 or visit gamblinghelponline.org.au. Chloe, we're nearly done for the 2026 home and away season. We'll be back next week to talk about finals. Very quick turnaround, but reminder, go and pick a team for finals or register a team so you're ready to go. SuperCoach EPL is about to kick off as well. I think the first game's on Saturday, so there is a free cheat sheet on Code and all the SuperCoach platforms. Check out the social accounts. You can find a link to that to give you some tips on who to pick. And, of course, the other big thing this weekend is the SuperCoach Cup. Started with 150,000 coaches. I made it through the first 5 or 6 rounds. And
I didn't make it very far.
And we're all the way down to the final 2 teams, Josh versus Liam. Competing for this magnificent trophy. We'll have to present it in a week.
Shine it up a little bit and present it. Yep.
Any tips or you barracking for one of these guys, or we just want the best team to win?
Well, I think it's pretty interesting, and Dossie would find this pretty interesting as well, with Liam's huge pot up forward. Bailey Williams, 125 last round, and he does have some bench cover for Sheasel as well, so that will be a bit of an interesting watch, I think. What about you?
I think the bench cover, looking this up, is that, he had I think Josh, unfortunately Josh's bench cover was Christian Petrarca, so even the cover's going down. So that tells you how things are going in SuperCoach this year. So I think it's not, there'll be plenty of grand finals that won't be sort of 23 versus 23. So hopefully if you're in one of those, you've got some decent cover and we get some big scores, nail that captain and we can bring home a Premiership Cup. So good luck everybody out there. It's been a long and pretty difficult season at different times, but it's been a lot of fun as well. And we'll be straight back next week to talk about SuperCoach Finals. But Chloe, it's been great having you on again and see if you can crack that top 100. I reckon you can even shoot up even higher the way things are going this weekend.
Yeah, fingers crossed. We'll see how it goes, but here's to hoping.
Good luck, everyone.